So, have you ever heard of the Luddite movement? I have to say, I've been kind of clueless about it, but apparently, Gen Z and some other people that maybe are not part of Gen Z, but they have not been. They've been busy. They've been busy pulling this movement back together. So, they've resurrected it. The whole idea that maybe they've just continued it. I'm not really sure. And it's teaching me quite a bit. There's a lot of things that I'm beginning to understand more so about technology and about technologies in the past. So hi everybody, it's Lori from Numerology with Lori. Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe if you can and hit that bell icon to all, just so that you don't have YouTube telling you what videos you can watch. And listen, if you would like to have a reading or a consultation, please be in touch with me. So you can reach me via email at lmanningbolus37 at gmail, or you can go to my website, which has a form that you can fill out and it goes directly to that email, and then I will contact you. It is loriintuitivenumerologist.com. Okay, thank you. So I want to share with you some information that I wrote down. Now, the top part is specifically, it talks about the Luddite movement. And you can see that each letter, as we've talked about before, corresponds to a number. Okay. And if you need a refresher on this, it is in um, my reference videos. So there is a chart that has all the different letters and A through Z and 1 through 9. So yeah, check that out. So Luddite adds to 30, which comes to 3 plus 0 equals 3. Movement comes to 35. 3 plus 5 equals 8. So 8 plus 3 is the final number and equals 11. And what I love about that is that 11 is a master number. So the response to that is that it is spiritual creativity. So that's the Luddite movement. The Luddite movement is moving forward spiritually. That's very interesting to me because we know that there are a lot of changes happening in this world right now. Is the Luddite movement purposefully asking us to really take a look at the technology that we're introducing to the world right now, or the way we're introducing? Because it's my understanding, now I could be wrong, and please, if you have some information that talks about the Luddite movement, please put it in the comments underneath this video. But it's my understanding that the Luddites don't want to not introduce technology. They just want us to introduce it responsibly and not willy-nilly. And it has to be for the people. It has to be for the people. Interesting. Hmm. Okay, so let's talk past. There was a person, and I think it was around the Industrial Revolution, that area. His name was Hal Ludd, I think. I'm pretty sure. And we don't know if he was a mythological character or if he was for real. We don't know. But we do know that as time went on, they began to call this movement the Luddites. They referred to themselves as the Luddites. And they were, again, as we talked about, they were for technology, but done responsibly. So, yeah. So in the beginning, at least that we know of, there was Socrates. And I shouldn't say in the beginning, but many, many moons ago, there was Socrates. And he made a point in his time that writing was a dead response compared to reality. What I find interesting about that is that he felt that the reality of life was better off spoken. And you know what I find fascinating about that? I think about these ancient peoples and cavemen, that what we refer to as cave people anyway, and how they passed on their information and their knowledge from person to person through the spoken word. They didn't have any way to write it down, nor did they. They didn't write it down. And I remember thinking as I was reading different fictional options or non-fictional options, like, how interesting is it? Like, how did they retain this information? And what did it, was it then, were they reborn with it? It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But I'd never even thought about the fact that writing wasn't in vogue. There was no such thing as writing. So the only thing that they could do was rely on the written or on the spoken word. I'm sorry, I did that last time too. So that Socrates spoke about philosophy. He had dialogues about philosophy, only speaking. Isn't that interesting? I find it really interesting. Now, Plato, around 407 BC, so Socrates was already going, before that. So Plato, about 407 BC, began to write down his dialogues. That's fascinating. That's really fascinating. Progress, right? You think so? What are your thoughts? Again, put that in the comments below because I'd really like to have a conversation with you about this. I find it really fascinating, and I find other people's concepts of it to be fascinating as well. So it seems a bit much, but Socrates thought that writing another form of technology. So let's take a look at the board again. So we have technology. Technology, each letter in technology corresponds to the chart that we have in the references column, and they all add to 49. So 4 plus 9 equals 12, still not a one-digit number, because we know that numerology requires everything to come to a one-digit number. So we have a 12. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. That is the number for technology. Now, I kind of like this number. It's about communication. It's about joy of living. It's about, eh, I think what's interesting about the number 3 for technology is that we don't know if it's being misused by anybody, that automatically takes that 3 to a shadow, to some form of it may create nervousness in some people, and we don't know why. And it could be that that 3 is playing poorly with people. So it's something to think about anyway. It's something to think about. So the new Luddites are asking, what is the cost of technology? Well, that's something that Socrates asked about writing. And he said, is it worth the cost? What was the cost in his mind? I don't know. I wasn't with Socrates, so I don't know what he thought. But he did think of it as a technology. So, in that sense, do we know? Okay, so we can say that if the new technology of writing was introduced to the world at that time, there would have been a lot of jobs created for writers. Were there jobs taken away? I don't know. I don't think so. It's just something that I haven't looked into, but I don't think so. But then, so is the technology that we're looking at now, specifically AI, is it worth the cost? That's interesting. So to me, the cost to AI is that people will definitely lose their jobs. I mean, look at all the applications for AI. I, I, I'm not now, don't get me wrong, in the right hands, is it good for us? Maybe. There's so much talk about the singularity and everything else. It's like, though, even though those are definite problems, issues that we'll have to deal with in the future, the immediate issue is will people lose their jobs because of AI? That's the question that I have. So back in the Industrial Revolution, when this mythological creature, Hal Rudd, I think was his name, or Ludd, um, when this all formulated, there was a group of people that were weavers in certain, factories that were, maybe making purses or making clothing or that kind of thing. So there were weavers that they had, and but these weavers got replaced with machinery that came in that could do their job. And that was the first Luddite movement. That was the first time, at least that to my understanding, that they were organized. There may have been other people that fought against technology going forward, but in this particular instance, this was the first time that there was an organization that happened. And these weavers, they protested against this, and so did the people that worked for them because they didn't want to see people lose their jobs. What were they going to do? I mean, these people, that's all they knew was weaving. So, I, I mean, unless the factory had another option for them, but instead they were just let go. There was no other option. That's kind of a little bit scary, and it's also what is happening now. I don't know. So the Luddites are asking, does technology make us less human? That's interesting to think about. So does it? I- If there is an argument or a division because of the technology, the new technology, or not using the technology, is that division part of what has been happening in this country? I don't know. That's a stretch, if you ask me. But what does it mean when it says makes us less human? That I've heard that on several occasions, and I've gotten different options out of it. These are questions that make sense. But if we never use the new technology, let's say of writing, where would we be today? So the question then turns to, does it make us less human or does it make us more human? I think it depends on what we're talking about. So, writing at the time, it was thought of as it seems to me, I don't know. I did not read this, I didn't research this. But it seems to me if they were so against it, it would have been thought of as a devil's tool, you know. I'm not sure. But we look at it today and say, oh my gosh, writing? How is that? A, how is it a technology? And B, what do you mean you didn't use it for so long? But now, looking at our response to AI, are we incorrect in our assumption that this is going to hurt and divide people more, make us less human? What is the cost to using AI? Wow, that's interesting. And 100 years from now, will people say, I don't know why they fought against AI so much. It's fine. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I can't help but think about how addicted some people are to their tech. Your cell phone, can you put it down? Can you literally walk away from it and not have the internet at your in your phone, in your little box? Um, I don't know. I have used it less. I will say that I'm trying very hard. But okay, I'm on a Reddit thread, and I don't know if any of you, buy into this, but the Reddit thread is about how people are being gotten off of Facebook because of AI. So Meta is reaching out and getting rid of these people, but in order for them to try to get it back, they have to give their ID and they have to give their who they are, and give their licenses and that sort of thing. I, I'm sorry, but with all the scamming that's happening now, how could you even think about just handing over your license and your ID information? I just don't understand that. I don't see that. I mean, but again, does it speak to how addicted we are to social media and our cell phones? That's an interesting prospect or concept, isn't it? Sorry, guys. So, okay, so the less we want the new technology, the more people learn, the less that we want the new technology. Okay, hold on. I'm messed up here. I can't help but think about how addicted some people are, how isolated some people are feeling now. Isolated because they can't get off their phones. They even when they go out, they're on their phones. And this is true of some people. Some people can just go out, they forget their phones at home. They go out to an evening and they engage in what's happening. That's what we want to do. We want to try to engage. We want to try to be present in what we're doing. But that's hard for some people. It's very hard. Would we be happier as Luddites? I don't know. I don't know. Would the people that feel isolated be happier? I'm not sure. Maybe. There's also the truth that the more people learn, the less we want the new technology called AI. Ooh, especially as it is right now. Now, I've heard people say that AI can be used successfully and AI can be a more positive influence on humanity. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. As it is now, I'm afraid that it's not a positive influence if half the people I know are losing their jobs because of it. It's not a positive influence when people are being thrown off of social media because of it. It's not a positive influence if people are feeling isolated over the use of social media and a cell phone and that sort of thing that's using AI to move forward. I don't know. So big corporations are pushing this on us. And truthfully, I wonder how many people will lose their livelihoods. I do. I think about that. I worry about that. Mm, my blood pressure goes up. So, not good. It does make sense that big corporations just don't realize this. Maybe they don't. I don't know. So I have no answer to this question. But why do they want it so bad if people aren't going to have a livelihood and not going to be able to pay for their goods? Is there something else going on that we're not aware of? I wonder about that. What do you think? Again, please put that information in the comments. I would really like to read about that. There are so many levels of change that have occurred in the past few years alone. And that's true. That's very true. Or maybe things are just being revealed. Mm, yeah. So maybe they've already been there. It's just that now we're being we're more made more aware of it. I'm not sure, but I do know that more of us need to push back. We do. We do need to push back when it comes to this particular piece of technology. I'm not saying the concept of AI isn't good, but the way it's being released right now is questionable, and we need to have more information. So I hope you all got something from this. Let me know in the comments, please, because I really am looking forward to this conversation. Thank you all so much for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this topic as much as I did, and blessed be. Blessed be.